but crazy though. Yo, let's see another thing. I only met her when she was young.
Now today marked the first day of David, spelled D4vd's preliminary hearing. And while day one did not reveal any major new forensic evidence,
yo, he's just weird, bro. He fucked her like every single day. He somehow couldn't pull out. Mm. Damn.
gave the public its first detailed account of what David told the police. In body camera footage shown in court, David told deputies that he had only met Celeste once in person. He said she had told him she was 18 while also acknowledging that other people had told him she was actually 13. That statement matters because prosecutors claim the relationship went far beyond a single meeting. Over the next several days, they're expected to present the evidence they believe supports that claim. Now, this is not the trial itself. A preliminary hearing is where prosecutors must show a judge that there is enough evidence for the case to move forward toward trial. The hearing is expected to last around 4 days, with Judge Charlene Olmedo ultimately deciding whether that happens. So in this video, we're breaking down what was revealed on day one, what was actually new, and why David's own words could become important as the hearing continues. Now, back in April, David was arrested in connection with Celeste Riva's death. He's pleaded not guilty. Now, as far as what happened in this preliminary hearing, so prosecutors claimed the relationship was far more extensive than David initially.
Can't even lie to you. That's so weird. Just brought in jail. Didn't they say he's like eligible for like, what do you call that thing? What do you call it? Firing squad.
They told police, and they believe the evidence collected during the investigation supports their version of events. Prosecutors also called one of David's financial managers, Benjamin Greger, who testified that David earned between $10 million and $11 million from 2023 through 2025, so he was doing pretty good. Now, that testimony appears intended to show how much money and career momentum prosecutors believe David had at stake, but the idea that this created a motive remains the prosecution's theory and has not been proven. Now, one of the main moments during the hearing came when prosecutors showed that earlier police encounter in court, giving the judge and now the public a chance to hear David's version of the relationship in his own words. Now, we have not seen the full footage ourselves, but the testimony gave us a much clearer picture of what happened during that first documented interaction between David and law enforcement about Celeste. And to understand why it matters, we have to go back to February 17, 2024.
Is she like threatening him? Yeah, from what I heard, she threatened to expose him. Because he was talking to this one girl. She went from chatting to little kids. Actually, he stayed chatting to little kids. From chatting to little kids, you know her parents knew. Parents are weird, bro.
At that point,
guys are crying. She ran away from home a couple of times. She ran away from home because she didn't want to be where her parents just said. But low-key, no weird shit. She's like, I'm not even trying to hate, but she was low-key kind of chopped. Like, this thing could have pulled better. Like, actual older girl, which she did. Not that she was, Celeste was like jealous and
had reported her missing.
RP her.
Investigators reviewed
She didn't deserve the
phone records connected to her disappearance at the time and traced one of the numbers back to David himself. When they first contacted David, he said he had last spoken to Celeste only a few days earlier. He also claimed that he did not know she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. Later that same evening, officers went.
Bro, how do you not know she was a minor, bro? Brother, Celeste. Riva Hernandez or whatever. Yeah. Bro. I didn't know she was a minor. Hey, just watch. I didn't know she was a minor. There was like a when how the fuck do you know she's a minor? You've been talking to her since she was 11. Like, are we guys acting like we're all slow? Guy talked was like 16, talking to her when she was 11. 4 years later, you didn't know she was a minor. How do you know she's a minor? You've been talking for 16 for fucking 4 years. Like what? Has to be some drone shit. Nigga just capping just for capping's sake.
Into the West Hollywood residence where David was staying to conduct a welfare check. During that interaction, they told him directly that Celeste was a 13-year-old runaway, and this is the exact exchange prosecutors played in court. So this is the transcript right here. When David was asked if he actually knew her age, he told the deputies, "She told me she was 18. He then added, "Everybody's telling me she was 13. So that was David's explanation at the time to police. But mind you, Celeste was still alive during that period. That was, of course, over a year before she would eventually have been killed. And at that time, they were just simply trying to locate her because her family had reported her missing. So this is where that statement becomes important. Prosecutors say they have evidence showing that the relationship was, of course, far more extensive than David described during that encounter. According to their case, the two have been communicating for a much longer period of time, and Celeste had allegedly spent significantly more time with David than just one meeting. So prosecutors may use that footage to argue that David was minimizing the nature of their relationship when police first questioned him. But that is still their interpretation of the evidence, and the defense will have the opportunity to challenge both the timeline and what David meant during that conversation. So this is what makes the footage relevant as the hearing continues. The judge can now compare what prosecutors claim happened with what David told police in his own words. What makes the footage especially interesting is that this was not some intense interrogation where David appeared to be under pressure. At the time, the officers were simply trying to locate Celeste and understand what connection he had to her. The deputy whose body camera footage was shown in court testified that David appeared calm and cooperative, and that the conversation was friendly and even somewhat jovial. At one point, when David spoke about his music career, one of the officers responded, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Good for you." And even as the encounter progressed, the atmosphere, according to the police, still did not appear to become tense or confrontational. David also allowed the
Fuck. Thanks to this shit.
officers to search the residence where he was staying. The home was owned by Interscope Records, the label he was signed to, and was being used as housing for artists. During that search, officers did not find Celeste inside the home, and they also said that they didn't find any indication at the time that she or any other girl had been staying there. And it's also, again, important to remember that Celeste was still alive at this point. This was simply a missing person investigation, not a homicide investigation, and the interaction with David remained casual. He appeared relaxed, spoke openly with officers, and cooperated with the search. So this footage therefore gave the court a look at how David described the relationship while police were still simply trying to locate Celeste. From there, the hearing moved forward in the timeline to the evidence investigators recovered after her death. So another important part of today's hearing involved the photographs prosecutors showed in court. I'm not going to dwell on the graphic details, but the photos showed Celeste's remains as they were found inside the front trunk of that Tesla registered to David at the Hollywood tow yard. LAPD detective Joshua Byers, who made the discovery, testified that her head and torso were inside a body bag, while her arms and legs were inside a separate garbage bag underneath. He also said that 2 fingers were missing from one of her hands. Another detail that stood out in the photographs was the blue plastic material visibly attached to Celeste's remains. So prosecutors, like a lot of you guys know, had already alleged that David purchased a blue inflatable pool, had it delivered to the Hollywood Hills residence he was staying at, and that investigators later recovered it from the garage. In the photographs shown during the hearing today, blue fragments could reportedly be seen attached to Celeste's remains on these photos. Now, the prosecutors say they intend to prove that those fragments came from that same pool. So while the pool itself had already been discussed publicly, the photographs gave the court a visual look at the physical evidence prosecutors believe connects it directly to Celeste's remains. Another detail involved how Celeste was eventually identified. Detective Byers testified that Celeste's father, Jesus Rivas, contacted police a few days after the remains were discovered. At that point, the person found inside the Tesla had not been publicly identified, but Celeste was already missing. After seeing the news coverage, her father began to fear that it could be his daughter. So I guess he had just a very bad feeling, right? And
no, hey, bro. I'm not even. Never mind. Yo, she's the victim. Fuck her parents, bro. Fuck her brother too. Nigga probably knew about it, heard it from school, and did not say jack shit. Fuck all of them. She shouldn't have not died. Yo, the little kid, yo, he gets a pass. That's why her parents are all fucking chop shit. Niggas don't give a shit about her daughter. Guys were getting paid, getting money from her. Oh my deeds, guys. My boyfriend just gave me $10,000. That's no question. Oh my deeds, yo, bring the money. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, money is sweet. So good, bro. 10K. Hey, you can do anything you want to my daughter. I don't care. I don't care. Like, bro. They're gonna be crying on the internet. Oh my deeds. Yeah, well, how could this happen? Your daughter runs away from home because of something you do. That. Ooh. Here's what it is, though. Like.
so he then contacted investigators and provided Celeste's dental records, which were then used to confirm her identity. And that's how they eventually found out that Celeste was dead. Detective Byers also testified that David became a focus of the investigation almost immediately after officers discovered that the Tesla was registered in.
Yeah, I can't lie. The whole internet was literally saying that he did it. And for some reason, they didn't do shit then. Waited a whole fucking months to arrest them.
His name. Another part of the hearing involved the purchase records connected to David. So a lot of these purchases had already appeared in earlier court filings, so it ain't of course nothing that you haven't heard before, but they were still discussed because prosecutors are using them as part of the larger timeline they are presenting to the judge. So according to the testimony, investigators reviewed records from items including body bags, chainsaws, a shovel, an inflatable pool, the one we just mentioned, heavy-duty bags, and cleaning supplies. Prosecutors have previously claimed that some of those items were connected to what happened inside the garage, where they also say Celeste's DNA was found in bloodstains. One specific example brought up in court today involved a body bag allegedly ordered through Amazon under an alias. Investigators say David still used his own card and had it delivered to his own address. Detective Byers testified that the body bag allegedly ordered matched the one in which Celeste's head and torso were found. However, the defense questioned whether that specific bag had ever been tested to tie it directly to David. And then Detective Byers said that the bag could not be taken into evidence because Celeste's remains were too decomposed to be removed from it. So that sounds like they're really not trying to compromise the actual evidence that they had. Now, prosecutors believe the timing, payment information, and delivery records still help connect that purchase back to David and to what they allege happened after Celeste disappeared. The defense will still have the opportunity to challenge that interpretation and argue that the purchases do not necessarily prove what prosecutors say they prove. Another item discussed was what investigators describe as a burn box. It's also called a portable incinerator, found hidden at the Hollywood Hills residence. So that item had also been mentioned in earlier filings, but Detective Joshua Byers testified that investigators actually recovered it from the property. Prosecutors believe it may have been intended to destroy evidence, although that remains their allegation and has not been proven at trial. Now, let's talk a little bit about David and how he reacted to all this. So according to a reporter inside the courtroom, David showed little visible emotion and appeared to study the photographs closely as they were displayed. One image showed Celeste tattoo, which reportedly matched a tattoo David had in the same place. Now, we take a step back and look at everything that came up during day one. The hearing was really about beginning to place all these separate details into one larger timeline. Then there's also the question of the death penalty. The Los Angeles County District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, said prosecutors have not yet decided whether they will pursue the death penalty. So if David is eventually convicted, he could potentially face either life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. But then again, no final decision has been made on that yet. And that brings us to the entire purpose of this hearing. So prosecutors are not trying to prove the full case beyond a reasonable doubt at this stage. They're simply trying to convince the judge that there's enough evidence for the case to move forward to trial. This is also why not everything discussed during a preliminary hearing is going to be completely new. So some of the evidence may have already appeared in court filings or previous reports. The difference now is that prosecutors are beginning to formally present that information through witnesses, records, and testimony, while the defense is given the opportunity to question it and challenge how it is being interpreted. And because this hearing is expected to continue for several days, prosecutors are presenting the case in stages rather than laying everything out at once. So over the next few days, we're most likely going to hear about the digital records, the forensic evidence, the purchases connected to the case, and the timeline prosecutors believe ties everything together. And this is where this hearing could become much more significant. Day one mainly gave the judge a look at David's earlier statements to police, how investigators first became connected to him, and some of the evidence later recovered during the actual investigation. The next few days may reveal whether prosecutors have evidence that directly contradicts the version of events David gave during that earlier police interaction he had back in 2024. At the same time, we may also begin to see more clearly how the defense plans to respond. They could challenge the timeline, question how certain evidence was collected, or argue that some of these details do not prove what prosecutors claim they prove. So right now, it is still too early to say exactly how strong the overall case looks. But as this continues to escalate, we're going to see exactly if they really have what they say that they have. So the decision at this stage is not about whether David is guilty or innocent. It is simply about whether prosecutors have shown enough probable cause for the case to continue toward trial. And that is everything we learned from day one of this preliminary hearing. I'll keep you guys updated as more information comes out over the next few days. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you're new here. We're doing a classic voiceover today because it's late as hell and I have a very bad headache right now. You guys let me know in the comment section below about what you think about some of the things we talked about on day one of this hearing. I'm of course going to have several more updates on this story over the next few days, so stay tuned. I love you guys.
Bro, I don't even know. No deserve to do anything, bro.
I'll catch you guys
It's
in the next one.
crazy. Peace out. Peace and now. Oh, wow.